a preacher who was getting himself all ready to have a big prayer, and he was saying, "Dear Lord, without you we are but dust." And at that point, a small voice was heard from a child saying to his mother, "Mom, what is but dust?" Now, if that minister had a healthy sense of humor, like Francis, for instance, he would have had a hearty, good laugh over that, and would have helped him to see himself and his lofty rhetoric without all the mystique that goes with this office. Have you ever noticed how much humor and how much swearing has to do with sex? In fact, sex, religion, and bodily functions, that's just about the only swear words you can get. And there's humor, it's much broader than that, but so much of it is around sex. Because my theory is we have so many guilt feelings around sex. And that the only way we can talk about it often is to tell jokes or put it into our story. But God, you see, has given us two gifts that help us to deal with the anxiety and the pain and the confusion around sex and everything else in the life that we encounter. And they are intimately connected. I'm talking about tears and laughter. Both come from the same place in the soul, I think. And both are essential to our emotional and spiritual survival. Without laughter and without tears, we become something less than human. All of you know the story of Adam and Eve and the snake in the Garden of Eden, so I'm not going to rehearse it. But Christians through the ages have read all kinds of things into that story, and in the process, they have made it a source of so much guilt that surrounds sex. Since about the 5th century, Christians have tended to see the Garden of Eden story as the beginning of sin. That's where it all began, and it was Eve who did it. She was that terrible crime that Eve did, and that's why Jesus had to be crucified to forgive the sin that Eve did, and that's carried on through each one of us, and each one of us is born sinful. It's called the theory of original sin. None of that is there in the original story. It's fragmented from guilt more than it's fragmented from the Bible. I wish Donald were here. He has his doctoral degree from the university, where one of the main theologians is Matthew Fox, who got kicked out of the Roman Catholic Church because he taught that the Garden of Eden story is not about original sin, it's about original blessing. And it's Eve who is the hero of the story. It's Eve who picks the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and her courageous act takes humanity from the garden of animal innocence into the wonderful, pain-filled, God-filled adventure of the human journey. Stories like the one about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden are they're like good jokes. If you have to explain them, you'll never understand. I like to use an ancient and very playful Hebrew tradition that goes back hundreds of years. It's called the Agadah, which says that in order to understand the story, you make up your own story. And it's best if you tell that story with your tongue really solidly up on your cheek and a chuckle in your voice. So that's what I've done. My story is not based on any profound scholarship. All I can offer is an overactive or hyperactive imagination that gets me into all kinds of trouble. It also is a bit of fun. My story, the story that takes off from two creation stories in the Bible. There's two of them in there. One is about Genesis 1, it's about sort of a theoretical poem really about creation. And then the second one is a mythology about creation. Anyway, in that first one, God says, "Let us create humans in our image." Who's God talking to there? Well, God has just created the animals, so there's nobody else around. So God must be talking to the animals, right? God must be creating humans that are part animal and part God. that definition, you and I are half-breeds. You're half dog, half gorilla, or half angel and half alligator. So here is the story that I wrote some time ago, and it's called What If? Way back when, at the very beginning of things, there was a God with an unpronounceable name, something like Yahweh. Probably close, but nobody sure. Now, this Yahweh, being after all, God, couldn't have needed anything. But this God was the only God, and therefore all alone. And well, Yahweh was lonely. So Yahweh started making things. And in each little creation, Yahweh invested love, deep love. Yahweh loved making things, round things like worlds, and growing things like dandelions, and creeping things like worms, and swirling things like galaxies. Yahweh loved making things. And it was fun too. Yahweh raced with the gazelle, and of course he had won hands down because Yahweh was God, and therefore the best at everything. And Yahweh made faces at the chimp, and the chimp would really break up laughing because God could make funnier faces than anyone. But the gazelles and the chimps and all the other animals were mostly concerned with necessary things. Things like eating and copulating and bearing offspring. Now, in those days, the animals could talk, and Yahweh had interesting conversations with them, interesting and sometimes frustrating. There were two words the animals never used. What if? And Yahweh used those two words constantly. What if, instead of having babies come out of eggs, we grew them inside the mother's womb? None of the other animals could understand that. I laid a 200-pound egg last week, said the elephant. I was going for a record and now you decided to change it. What if you had a 300-pound baby instead, Yahweh said? Then it'd be ready to go. You wouldn't have to sit on it for 16 months. I suppose, but we never did it that way before. Now, the birds and the insects and the reptiles seem to be the most conservative of all. No way, Jose, said the jay. I like sitting on eggs. I like it. Kate's right already, said God. What if birds, insects, and reptiles did eggs, and the rest of you did the new, improved, ready-to-go kid? What if, said God. Can't you leave things alone instead of creating all the time? No, I can't. That's who I am, said Yahweh. You're a survivor. I'm a creator. And oh, how I'd like someone to create it. Here we go again, said the dinosaur. What if I made something that's a little like both of us? And what if we call it a human? That then God said, let us make a human in our image. A being that's going to be like you animals in all kinds of ways. An animal that can run like a gazelle and make stupid faces like the chimp. A being that will be preoccupied with necessary things like eating and copulating and bearing young and staying alive. But this human will be like me too. This human will know what it's like to be God. This human will understand the difference between good and evil. This human will get the point of a joke. This human will understand the words, what if? So Yahweh thought. Yahweh took some of the dust of the ground and moistened it with the water of life and shaped it into a beautiful creature called human. Then Yahweh held him close, like a mother cradled the baby, and gently breathed breath of life into this new creation. The human became a living soul. The animals laughed. The human was beautiful, just beautiful. Now, look with a smile at the human. Behold, Yahweh said, this is very good. Yahweh and the human had a wonderful time together. Yahweh and the human loved to begin sentences with what if. But some of the animals were much more logical than God. They pointed out a small flaw in the divine God, said the orangutan, you said this human was going to be like us animals, preoccupied with necessary things like eating and copulating. The eating part is no problem. The human manages to eat alone all right. But if you have a copulator, you must also have a copulating. Good point. Good point, said God. But I'll tell you one thing. This human is also created in my image. This human is like me in the most important way possible. So this human will need more than just another human to copulate with and to bear offspring with. So God caused a deep sleep fall on the first human. And from the side of one, made another human, very much like the first, but different in some ways. Look, God said to the animals, these humans can do far more than copulate. Whenever humans bring their bodies together in care and tenderness, they will know that one was taken from the other, and that one is incomplete without the other. They will know each other in love. They will be a sacrament, a divine and holy sacrament. And these humans, out of their love-making, and because they will know sacredness in their loving, they will be able to create the world with it. Then the great God Yahweh looked at the two humans standing there, bare naked and beautiful, and God loved them, gave them names, Eve and Adam, and Yahweh smiled a smile as wide as the rainbow. Yahweh enjoyed creating with the humans, enjoyed the long what-if conversations they had as they strolled through the gardens. But Yahweh was also a little worried. The humans were getting a little careless about their creating. It was just too easy for them to say, what if, and zap their what. Then Yahweh knew these humans were incomplete. Something was missing. It was fun creating with these humans, but they seemed so God wasn't sure why. The garden was perfect. Everyone was having fun. But it didn't seem to mean anything. Suddenly, God asked a whole new question. And the question was, why? That's what God said to the humans. I have a new question. It's even bigger than what I did. And my question is, why? I don't get it. What do you mean, why? Asked he. It was a long time. Finally, God said, why did you? Why is it why? Said he. Again, God was silent for a while. Then, look, eat, Adam, that tree over there, you can't eat any of the fruit of it. That's reserved for me. Touch it and I'll stop on your good, here. Whatever you stage like that. But why, he wanted to know, surprised that she was asking God's new question. Precisely, Lord God. God, do as you're told. And he wondered. She almost thought she heard a challenge in Yahweh, Lord. Where are they? Eve made up a tall tale of a serpent tempting her, just in case God should catch her red-handed. And then after dark one night, she snitched some of the fruit from the forbidden tree. And she slipped a few pieces into the salad after making for supper. He never knew to do it. Yahweh, of course, knew the difference. After all, Yahweh was God. God knew everything. All right, God said. Everybody out of the food. You didn't play by the rules. You tried to think for yourselves. You tried to act on your own. So the party's over. Out! God sounded furious. But Eve thought she saw the end of the smile of God's face. Or was it perhaps what God was shedding as a loving teeth? Yahweh was both mother and father of this race of humans. Yahweh had enjoyed their childlike innocence, and it seemed like a shame for them to have to grow up so quickly. It was both a tear and a smile. Yahweh, like all parents, felt both joy and pain watching the kids go off to work. So God put heavenly arms around the couple and gave them a hug. You're going to have to work for your food, said the But the work will build strength. Work will put you in touch with the earth from which you were formed. And you're going to know pain and danger, anger, alienation, shame, and heartbreak. Even Adam could feel that great heavenly light that God was from. I'm sorry it has to be this way. But if you don't know about pain, danger, alienation, and shame, you'll never know about joy and comfort and love and community and ecstasy. And death too. You've got to die so that you can live. Why? You will never understand that. But if you remember how we created this world together and how much I love you, then sometime, just for an instant, you will know. So Adam and Eve went on to start the human race. And Yahweh grinned and cried at their naked bouncing away from paradise and into the world. Be fruitful and multiply, God had said. Fill the earth, you're in charge of it. Be gentle with our creation. Does the couple turn for one final way of God called out? Don't forget to call home. Often, leave. We have an end. Sing a happy hallelujah. Now, I got a little bit of fun with regarding this and that. I went to the internet. I couldn't find another hymn besides "It Was Laughing" that really worked here. So I dug into the internet and, and so forth. Finally found some really fine words by Shirley Arena Murray, who's a New Zealand writer. And so I said to send a note to friends saying, "Can you find some music to go with this?" And after a while, I got a note back from Francis saying, "Well, yes, I can find some music." And